Very little time for this kind of stuff. For those of you who are here, this is strictly for you. We're going to spend the next 45 to an hour. If people start dropping off too much, I'll just cancel it. I'm not going to be here for a couple people doing this kind of shit. But basically, this is for you. So have pen and paper down. We have literally notes and notes of questions that people left us. So we will be going through these questions and also questions that you all have. We're going to start off with the deloading. So many of you know that basically my knees were pretty messed up and I had to stop running for a while. So how I started training is Casey here. I didn't know anything about deloading, and I mean, yeah, I knew you could do a Versa climber or an elliptical trainer, but I want to shut up right now. Casey, can you explain to them exactly what we're doing?
Yeah, so we are going to set up a little blood flow restriction here. I'm using the smart cuffs because I really like their diameter and everything for the leg. And we've already found his occlusion pressure. So
what the f*** is
Yeah, I was just going to say, what does that mean?
Are like probably like me.
So we find his limb occlusion pressure where the pressure occludes the artery flow, and then we back it off about 80% for his training load there. And yeah, so with BFR, the reason we do it on a deloading day is to help David be able to train at a sub-maximal threshold, but still get benefits of hypertrophy. So when he has been injured and you can't load is heavy, you start losing muscle strength, you start atrophying. So this is a way where we can mitigate muscle loss and continue to have hypertrophy and get good work in while not losing
It's a good look.
that strength.
Yeah, I know, right? They're going to be clowning me about my damn shorts now.
So we're just going to start. We're going to do a little aerobic work, a few minutes on the treadmill, and this is going to be modified to what we normally do. But normally we will spend 5 to 10 to 15 minutes continuously on aerobic work with the cuffs on. We may do the Versa climber, the bike and treadmill, or a combination of all of them. And then from there, we'll give the body a break and we'll put them back on and do some strength training. But what's great about the BFR for a guy like David is when you don't want to load the joints to extreme measures all the time, you can still get good work and, again, good hypertrophy back to the muscle. So it's something that's been new to him, and it's been super effective because, you know, a little backstory, when David came in a few months ago, he called me and he says, hey, my leg's messed up, like, is there anything you can do for my knee? And I said, well, you know, what's going on with it? And he's like, it's about 2 sizes, bigger than my other side. And I said, well, when's the last time you took a day off? And he's like, I haven't.
He doesn't do that sort of thing.
Literally hasn't taken a day off. So anyways, he got up to Montana and his knee was literally 2 or 3 knees compared to his right side. So right away we drained off 80 cc's of his knee.
I'm going to show David just kind of.
And we waited a week. We tried to do range of motion. His knee literally wouldn't flex more than 10 or 15 degrees. And this was his left side at the time. And then from there, the following week, we actually drained 40 more cc's from the back. Then we finally started getting some range of motion in the knee. We had a couple MRIs on the knees because then I went to his right side and his right knee didn't move, but little to him, he said his knee was fine. He said his right knee was his good knee.
What's wrong with you, David?
Hey man, my didn't hurt worse than my left one, so it was fine for me.
Yeah, so that was funny because he's like, yeah, my right knee's fine. And I start moving his knee and I was like, are you sure this is fine? And he's like, yeah, it's 100%. So we get a couple MRIs done on the knees and they are destroyed. I mean, I think my dad, who's 72, has better looking knees than David's do. But I mean, a lot of cartilage damage, bone on bone, meniscal tears, ligament damage. I mean, there's a lot to deal with. So coming up with a game plan for David was, very thought-provoking because I wanted to, safely and effectively bring him back into kind of performance mindset because his, was so broken down, and getting him to, buy into that is also, a challenge in itself. So the first thing we did is, took a look at his body, his structure, his gait, how his body's moving, and we uncovered a few interesting things. So, which, as we answer these questions, a lot of that's going to tie into what you guys are going to be asking about. A lot of the questions we've seen on overuse injuries, the stress fractures, or the perineal type of tendinitis, or plantar fasciitis, or hip pain, back pain. All that stuff is also manifested in what we saw in David. So we'll translate through that as questions come in, and I can demonstrate on him, or we'll just rapid fire. But definitely want to show you guys this as far as what he's specifically doing on deloading.
I have to say one thing about the blood pressure cuffs, the BFR.
Yeah.
The BFR is that this has totally changed my training big time. So right now, while you only see me walking, this is a demonstration for you all. And I know you're probably thinking, it's like a tourniquet. It's not a tourniquet. As you know, it's a blood pressure cuff. It's very tight. But this literally will get my max heart rate up within a couple of seconds. If I get on the Versa Climber with these on, my heart rate gets shot up real quick. And I'm a 100-mile-a-week runner usually. I can't do that now. So what these are doing for me right now, this allows me to still get the same aerobic output as 100-mile weeks. I'm putting in about I'm at 50 right now. So with this stuff here, it probably jumps me up to about 80 miles a week, even though I'm not running 80 miles a week.
I'm going to start just taking some questions,
Yep,
if that's okay, because we
yep.
have so many coming in.
Load it up.
So, guys, thanks for everything that was submitted last night and today. I'm going to try to just read some of these questions at the same time as keeping the camera on David and Casey. So I'm going to take it to them. So bear with me. But all right, so I'm going to just alternate whoever, David or Casey, is the best person to answer the question. How do you find the balance between overtraining and not training enough? When I train for long periods of time, my performance goes to shit. Maybe I just need to push harder through the governor, or maybe it's a matter of doing less. This is from RJ Youngling. So I don't know. David and overtraining, he may have one answer in case he may have something else.
This would be like
the yin and yang.
Yin and yang. So for me, the first thing I do is I have to go through my process. And my process is very different than most. But it's about risk reward. That's the first thing you gotta say. So when you're overtraining, like there's different kind of overtrainings. If it's like your knee's messed up, your knee's as big as mine was, or is it like your body's just telling you you're overtrained? For injuries to the body, it's risk reward. If you're training for a marathon, is there another marathon you can get into that can allow your body to rest? For me, when I was trying to go through Navy SEAL training, I only had a period of time and I couldn't take that risk reward. It was all about reward. So my risk was, I knew there was a good chance I was gonna break myself off. I knew stress fractures, I knew shin splints. I knew all that. That being said, I took the challenge and I did it. But to answer your question 100%, this is what it comes back to is your heart rate monitor. You gotta learn to heart rate train. The purest way to me to see if you're overtraining is to have your zones. Your zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. And also your resting heart rate. Your resting heart rate, you have to know that. That's very important to see if you're overtraining. So let's say your resting heart rate is a 41. You wake up in the morning time, you've been training now for 5 months for a marathon or wherever you're training for. You wake up, resting heart rate is a 41, but today it's a 57. Your body's telling you that you're starting to overtrain. It could be hydration, it could be nutrition, it could be overtraining. There's something going on in your body that's making your heart work harder. If you have time and you really want to do well, you need to take time off. Time off's very important there. But how you know about overtraining is you have to know where your heart is, your heart rate, if you're not injured. Go ahead and say something.
I agree with that 100%. I love the risk reward in the heart rate variability or the heart rate zone training. And one of the measures I look at is heart rate variability. And many devices will track that for you, creates an algorithm and looks at the variable length of time between your heartbeats, and it gives you a measure of kind of the autonomic stress on your body. So that's a great way to tell you, but really it's as simple as what David said is, your resting heart rate, and if you're not coming back down to that, your body's staying stressed. So, and then it's just the determination of the risk reward on, do you want to push forward and risk getting injured, or can you back away and rest and then come back?
The one thing I'll add to that real quick, 1 second, is I've done a lot of experiments on, don't do this at home, on hydration, and I've done them in literally like labs, where I would allow myself to get 5 to 10% dehydrated. I would literally go into a 6-hour evolution, and I would keep my hydration where I was staying hydrated, like let's say it was 24 ounces of water an hour. I would go through, do that, and I would literally just take off 10 to 20% of that, maybe 15% of that, and my output would literally drop drastically. And it wasn't because of nutrition, and it wasn't because of being overtrained or whatever. It was simply for hydration. I would take 20 minutes, rehydrate my body, and I was right back to where I was my first hour. So hydration is very big as far as, I found out for myself as far as overtraining. Hydration is very big for that kind of stuff.
All right, so before I start taking other questions, somebody asked, can they have something similar to this but for their shoulders? What can they do for their shoulders?
Yes, so these straps you can put up on your under your armpit here. You have a location for them.
Where can you get them?
Where can you? So
people have asked that too.
A bunch of them online right now. We use Smart Tools. It's a great one because if you see how easy it is to clip in, clip out. They have one that's going to automatically measure your occlusion pressure, and it'll variably adjust as you go. So highly recommend that. But there's a ton of them on the market. So we're going to move on because again we don't want to keep the pressure on him that long. So we're just going to show.
All right, and I'm also just going to make a comment. So for anybody that's asking the question, both David and Casey have been tested and both are negative, which is why neither of them are wearing masks. They've been working together for the past couple of months. And that was before we even started working with Casey. That was one of the things we all did. So just so everybody knows, in case you're upset that there are no masks on for today. All right, I'm going to look to another question while you guys are going.
We have this real quick to share with them.
All right, I'll come to the side.
So one of the things we're doing here with David is, go ahead and you just go through the exercise, I'll explain it, but one of the main things we found with him was how dominant he was on his quads and how forward tilted he was with his pelvis, meaning, extended. And I mean, he's talked a lot in his book about how tight he was with his psoas and quads, but he's also very dominant on those, which holds his pelvis forward. One of the things we've started doing with him is just repositioning his pelvis backwards and activating his hamstrings and his glutes and adductors. The big things we're trying to rebalance to take some of the demand off the quads, which will then reduce some of the compression force on the knees as he's pounding. So it's translated very nicely. I mean, he's done, for the past 2 months, he's done thousands of these repositioning exercises to increased better hamstring strength, glute strength, and adductors. And what it's translated into is, and I'll let David explain, but he's feeling less pain in his quads or in his knees than he has because he's not completely quad dominant and loading his knee. Let's go ahead and take those off then.
Great. So yeah, that said, basically, a lot of my knee issues, I talk about, like Casey said, all the stretching I did, my body was pretty much just like in like this. So these knees were not in position at all. Through Casey's work, through stretching out, my knees got in position, and now my body's more aligned. But what happened was I used my quads for everything. I wasn't using my glutes or my hamstrings. Now, my whole leg is taking the brunt of the force versus just this nice little kneecap. So everything is coming here versus here, and that's why you want to do these.
And to revisit that, because we're seeing a bunch of questions on distance running, knee pain, outside knee pain, and one of the things I would suggest right away is looking at your structure and your pelvis, because a lot of times you start dipping forward and you're staying quad dominant, you're going to start getting this outside knee pain. So a quick fix is starting to just engage your hamstrings, start getting some pullback on the pelvis, and you'll take stress off that knee right away.
What are 3 exercises, Casey? So I know that we just did this one.
Yeah, so right away, what he demonstrated there was basically you're just pulling down with your hamstrings and you're pulling your pelvis into flexion. And it's just neutralizing your pelvis and it's activating the hamstrings. You need the hamstrings insert into your pelvis to actually pull it down. So that's why the hamstrings are so important for pelvis control. So another one he's doing is he's gripping with the ground and he's alternating his knees forward and back. So here he's getting some hamstring pullback, he's getting some adductor activation, and then he's also shifting through his SI joints. So this is great for low back pain and hamstring activation.
So when I first got here, this exercise, while right now I'm still not the best at it, but when I first got here, it was like this.
Yeah, I
couldn't control that.
Coordinate that.
Yeah, it was horrible. So.
And then moving to the ball like this is more progressive, right? Because you see a lot of people, everyone has seen this exercise, what he just did, but where they do it wrong is they bridge up and they extend their spine and their pelvis, and then they pull in. So we're trying to, what he does really nice now is he holds a neutral spine and then just pulls in. So that's the difference, is not going up into extension and pulling in, but just holding neutral. And then you can take that and look at a lot of the different exercises you're doing. And if you're going into too much extension, pull back into neutral.
Okay. What kind of questions do you guys have?
Oh my gosh, so many questions, but they keep coming in. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to try to go back to. Can you read one off of there, or Casey? Can you take one off of there?
Casey.
All right, this one's for you, David, actually. What's the biggest change you've made in your training and recovery in the past few years?
It actually wasn't in the past few years. It happened in the past couple of months. And I'm still this way. I push through pain and don't do what I do. But what I've now learned is I'm pretty broken, but now I'm pretty good. But I now just back off of all that. I listen more to my body, and my results are huge. So my running miles, I used to always believe, it's called the placebo effect. Let me just cut it down. The placebo effect. Most of us believe, at least me, that we're not in shape for the event. I've been training for 100-mile race, 200-mile races for years. I'm in shape right now to go out and run 200 miles, right now. But what happens is my mind starts getting a hold of me, and I start panicking before a big race, and I'm like 3 months out. So I start ticking up that training more and more and more, and what happens is I get deep into overtraining. What I've learned is that's the placebo effect. My body's in shape, my body's ready to go, but my mind is telling me that we need to do more. So I've learned to control that a lot more.
So because this just is another question that I think will fit with this thought, was how do you declutter your mindset outside of workouts?
So about decluttering, your mindset with all these workouts and stuff is, once again, you have to listen to your body, and you have to just listen to only how you're feeling. The clutter that we get is usually noise that we put into our own brains. So that's what we have to learn to control the most. And that was my big problem, was I was cluttering my mind with a bunch of bullshit. You gotta clutter it, not clutter it. You gotta fill it with facts. And the facts are there, so look at your training log. Your training log is a factual thing. If you don't have a training log, get one. It's not just about training, it's about studying, whatever. Get that log out and look at it. And that log will tell you exactly the truth.
Yep.
If that log looks pathetic, you now know that what you're putting in your mind is truth. If you look at that log and the log says, wow, I put in 100-mile weeks, blah, 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 and you're still saying you're off, that's when you got to check yourself.
All right. So, all right, these questions are coming in really quickly, so I have to choose one because then they keep coming in more. All right. Talk about heart rate, because a lot of questions are coming in. How do you do your resting heart rate? What are the zones for heart rates? What's the best heart rate
Do you
monitors?
Want to cover this? Want me to cover it? Or?
Let's start with your experiences.
Okay.
You do the
So,
zone training.
I used to be the guy that, most of us are the people that get up in the morning time and we try to PR every run. We wake up and yesterday I ran a 5K in 19 minutes. So today I'm going to run the same 5K in 18:55. That's how I train. I go to the gym. All right, I did 225 10 times. I'm going to do it 11. Everything I did was that kind of training program. That kind of training program gets you one way: fucking injured and overtrained. So how I learned this was like back in 2007. I was training for 100-mile races, and how I trained for 100-mile races was never just go out and do more than you did the day before. That's how I trained. Do more than you did the day before. That got me overtrained. So I saw this guy, heart rate training. Specifically how this works is it's designed specifically for you. That's what's good about Casey's. Everything he does specifically for you. My heart rate's different than yours. It's 220 minus your age for a lot of people, but that's kind of just a bullshit reference, but it's kind of out there. So you have to know your resting heart rate. You have to know on an everyday, me being healthy, me having hydration, nutrition, proper sleep, low stress, what is that heart rate? For me, it's in the 30s, like 37, 38. So I know if I wake up in the morning time and that resting heart rate is 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 beats higher, I know that I have screwed something up, whether I worked out too hard or not. But you can't get that without zone training. So you get the resting heart rate, then you get your zone 1. Your zone 1 is why I never take days off. People go, my God, you're overtrained. No, I'm not. A lot of my days when I'm tired are in a zone 1. Zone 1 is a very low active heart rate. It's active recovery heart rate. My zone 2 is basically from like a 140 to like a 157 heart rate. And I do 80% of my training in a zone 2. And that's how most of us back in the day when I was training had a very inefficient heart. Because I woke up, I just ran. When you train most of your miles at a zone 2 heart rate, that heart rate is becoming very, very strong, and everything is very effective at that heart rate. Then you got zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. But I don't even touch zone 4 and zone 5 hardly ever, because what I'm training for is mostly zone 2 and zone 3. So,
Yeah. And on like on a energy pathway system, he's training in that zone 2 is more on that aerobic oxidative pathway, and then the 3, 4, and 5 is getting more anaerobic to even to your creatine phosphatate system. So,
Usain Bolt type shit.
Yeah. So I think that's great advice on the heart rate training, and then again on the heart rate variability. I think that's there's so many trackers now that are great that people can wear, and it gives them that.
Can you explain heart rate variability to these people?
Yeah, so the heart rate variability is just it's the fluctuations are the length between your heartbeat. So it's essentially exactly what he was explaining with you waking up one day with, you know, a low normal resting heart rate, the next day you're high. Well, there's just going to be this, your variability is going to be way off. And they've done a lot of research on this where so low HRV shows that you're not handling your stress well. So the autonomic nervous system is getting stressed and your sympathetic load is pretty high. So it's a good indication to start slowing down when you see your HRV start plummeting. So it's just there's a lot of good effective quantitative devices that help measure that, as well as the heart rate stuff.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You want to put your elbows on that thing and sit down? Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you because a lot of people are asking. Shin splints,
There you
and
go.
can you talk about shin splints, recovery from them, what to do with them, etc.?
Yeah, shin splints are the runner's nemesis, right? So,
Thank you.
First thing is gauging the pain in your progression. You know, just knowing, like what David said, look back at your training log. Are you progressing too fast? You know, is your intensity raising too quickly?
10% rule, people.
Because you can adjust that just knowing, okay, I did too much, so I need to scale back because I'm feeling it. You know, the other thing treatment-wise is you want to start to lengthen that tissue. Acupuncture is great. But also looking at your body globally. So having someone check out things like we're just talking about with your pelvis, your structure, because if your structure's off, you're going to put more stress on your foundation, on your foot, on your knee, on that tissue itself, and it's just going to be prone to getting inflamed. So best thing is address any strength deficits through the pelvis, work the foot. The posterior tib goes right into the foot on the medial arch, so you can roll out the foot, lengthen that tissue, and really check your training log.
All right, Allie Long would like to know who's your favorite soccer team.
Oh, that's easy. Hi, Allie. It's the OL Rain. Is she jumping in?
Not yet, I don't think. There's so many things coming through, it's hard to see, but at least you answered her question, which was very important. What about any stretches for the sciatica?
Oh, interesting. That's a little bit of a loaded question because depending on the source of the sciatica, whether it's central coming from the spine or if it's peripheral coming from the leg. Oftentimes with runners that maybe don't have an injury to the spine, they're getting compression through their piriformis where the sciatic nerve can run.
And just so you know, your piriformis is right here.
Yeah.
Right around this area here.
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay,
exactly.
so I'll make sure. I'm
That's perfect. So
a
lot of times that nerve will pierce right through that muscle, and over time you'll get some compression to that, and that'll cause irritation. So again, look back at your training. Are you doing too much right now? You back off and let that muscle just recover on its own. But good leg stretches are nerve glides essentially. So I mean, you can look that up. I don't think we have time to really show nerve glides, but nerve glides are specifically for the sciatic nerve would be good. And strengthening. It could be a lack of strength is why your muscle is starting to grip. So getting more glute max strength.
And one more thing, Jennifer, on that, a lot of these injuries are from overuse.
Yeah.
So that whole 10% rule thing, 5-10% rule, if you're just starting off, if you look at your training log, I will keep on saying training log. That is your Bible. That's the holy grail of why am I this week. Look at the last few weeks and it'll tell you why you're this week. If you look at week 3, you've been training for 4 weeks, and you've gone from week 1, 10 miles, week 2, 20 miles, week 3, 40 miles, week 4, 50 miles, those jumps are way too big. So, while you may be feeling great because you just started working out, you're going to get overuse injuries by doing that. So stick to the 10% rule. What that means is if the first week you did 15 miles of running, let's just say running, take 10% more than that and add that to that, and that would be what you do next week.
All right. As you can imagine, David, because you've talked about it so much in the past, everybody is
Stress
asking
routine.
that and psoas.
Psoas.
Yes.
Okay.
They're the two things that are coming up more than anything else on here.
Okay. My psoas is pretty much right now, would you say it's pretty good?
Pretty good, because we've repositioned his pelvis.
So what was killing me about, and how I wish I had so much more time, how my pelvis started getting repositioned was because these quads, that was quad dominant, was just yanking the hell on everything. It was just pulling me. So basically that caused everything. So all my stretching I did helped that. So I was looking for psoas stretches.
So your favorite psoas stretches.
Okay.
Yep.
This is my absolute favorite psoas stretch. It's first thing I'll do is I'll sit here, and these are the only stretches that I do for like 30 seconds. Most of my stretches are long stretches. But I'll sit there and I'll lean forward, and what that does is that literally is pulling my hip flexor. My hip flexor right here going up, all the way up into here. I do that for 30 seconds. I switch legs. Then I do that 3 sets each leg for 30 seconds. Then this is my favorite stretch of all. You do this, you pull this back, which gets your quad. And so this is the area that was really jacked up on me. So, I kind of want to show, but I won't do that right now.
No, not today. Next time, something
So
special
basically
for next
This is
time.
getting all this area here. This is my absolute favorite psoas stretch. So.
Okay. Do you have one, Casey, that you would add?
That one is perfect. And the only thing I add with that is when you get into that stretch, not to let your back go into extension. So your pelvis and back.
Okay.
Because it stresses the low back. So, and he wasn't. If you watch that, he was in perfect neutral position. So that's the only thing to maintain on that stretch, but that is a great stretch. And a lot of times, those are great static stretches. I do a lot of table stretching, which is just a little different. So the next time you get body work or manual therapy, ask the person working on you to do a table stretching, because that's a great way to open up your body, your hips, they can work through your psoas, stretch that. And a lot of times it's really effective compared to just stretching on your arm.
And the last thing I'll tell you, once you figure out where your psoas is, you can actually feel it. Self-massage, getting deep into that psoas muscle, like just really getting in there, it truly helps out a lot, loosen that up.
All right. So nutrition. Everybody asks. So I'm going to start with one thing before nutrition. As always, people ask, how do you maintain muscle mass while you do so much running? What are you doing? What does the workout look like? Casey, if you have thoughts too on this,
So for me, I don't have problem for some reason, and no, I'm not on steroids. Don't take them. So I know he's on steroids. No, he's not. So basically, I don't have any problem gaining size. My body, that's why I got into powerlifting. So for me, it takes more of me to be at 190. My body wants to be 200, 205. That being said, a lot in life, I don't have great genetics, but my body wants to be bigger. But how I keep my size right now is a lot of people want to emaciate themselves, like runners. They want to be as small as they can because it actually does help you run faster. It's just the laws of physics. For me, I never wanted that. So basically, I do all my calorie counting. So let's say I go out and I do a 20-mile run. I know, just depending on the terrain, if it's hilly or whatever, but let's say I burn 2,200 calories on a 20-mile run. So what I know is, me just resting, I'm burning like 4,000 calories. Me just chilling out, 4,000. I don't know the exact number, but it's something like that. I got it at home. I now know I have to supplement 2,200 more calories. So I make sure that I never go to bed, first of all, in deficit of protein and good fats and calories and hydration. So I never go to bed with that mindset of wanting to get small. On top of that, I also hit the weights. I do, as Casey will know, I hit pull-ups and push-ups almost every day of my life. And I'm in the gym. I still do bench presses. I still hit deadlifts. Only thing I don't do a lot of anymore is squatting, because obviously the knees and the hips and stuff like that, for me, I don't think it's bad for your knees and hips, but that's so I'm big on big power lifts, and that's how you still keep that size.
All right. And what did you want to talk about? You know, you just recently did that test and found out things that were causing inflammation.
I think, Casey, I will let
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's part of it is knowing what to eat, when to eat. So first thing what he said is just knowing your deficit, replacing that. But the other big thing is then knowing what foods are going to actually give you the right nutrition. So what foods could be causing inflammation to you that you thought you were eating to fuel your body, but are actually causing an issue. So we did that with him, so he understands, okay, what should I put in my body for fuel? What should I eliminate for inflammation? And then also another metabolic test to just understand where the body's at baseline wise. You know, so what's his basic cell physiology doing? So then we know, okay, you need to add these 4 foods to increase XYZ vitamin or XYZ mineral, right? So I think that's a big help in recovery to understand those needs.
So from that test, he's talking about, what's the name of that test?
That's a metabolomic testing.
So he does that stuff here. So basically what I found out was, I kind of discovered this on my own before I met Casey, but I was a big goo guy. So I'd be out in these races, man, I'm pounding sugars. So all I do, I just rip a goo up, boom, every 25, 30 minutes, I'm a sugar guy, I'm gone, I'm good to go. I started realizing that deep into a race, man, gut bomb, messed up, never realized it, never knew why, just kept on charging through. I would get off of the damn goos and I would go to more straight food, peanut butter and jelly, I would go to potatoes, bananas, and my gut felt better. Didn't put 2 and 2 together, just all because this is a race. I do not have any products. I'm not selling anybody shit. What helped me out was I moved to a product called Tailwind. Literally, because it absorbs in my body better. Everybody's body's different. I use that shit. I take no salt tablets. I used to use this stuff called Carbo Pro. I don't take that shit anymore. I don't take any salt tablets, nothing. All I do is drink this shit called Tailwind. And I did Leadville last year, all on Tailwind. Yeah, I had a couple of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is, you have to find what works for you. What works best for me is Tailwind. And I was a big guy on whey protein. I preached whey protein. I found out I was on whey protein for 25 years. My body does not do well with whey. So now I'm on plant-based. I'm not on all plant-based foods, but I'm on plant-based protein. So these diet questions are very specific for everybody.
And to comment on that, that doesn't mean that David can never eat whey again. It's just what his body is right now is creating an inflammatory response to whey. So that's why he's cutting it out. But we'll retest him in 6 months, and that response could be gone. You know, but it's just right now it's being an issue, and for us to get the knees in the body better, we need to cut out any systemic inflammation. And so, yeah, those food sensitivities are a big one to identify, because those, you have complete control of that. You just cut it out.
So before you get your diet, if you have the money, these tests are very important.
Great. Okay. And I do think a lot of people had mentioned earlier about your nutrition during these ultras and whatnot, which you just touched upon with Tailwind and whatnot. So,
because one of the questions, I mean,
go ahead.
Finish that was the race day prep, which I think we kind of hit. My portion on the question was, you know, what's your race day fuel strategy? And my advice is you have to test everything before it comes to race day, obviously, so you don't get GI issues. So you're testing, you're knowing how your body's going to respond, and specifically you go further and you kind of know what you should be putting in to not cause that inflammation or GI distress. But I'll let him talk.
So I have 2 things I'll mention real quick. A lot of people are really stuck on these different diets out here, and either you're a vegan, you're stuck on vegan.
There's a lot of questions about that.
You get pissed off if someone's not a vegan. I get all of that. I have thick skin. I don't worry about what you eat whatever you want. But back to this test, a lot of people who are vegans, who are like, whatever you eat, make sure you do these testings, because even though you may be a straight up vegan, there was a person that I know, or Casey knows also, they they were vegan, but they couldn't have kale. And am I right about this?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
kale was pretty much all they ate. So that's very important. But back to your race day prep.
Hold on. I just hit something on Facebook. Shit. Wait, resume. Okay, sorry, got that on Facebook.
All right, so what I do, so a lot of people talk about race day prep. Mine's not a race day prep. Once again, everybody has their own way. A lot of people before a big race, what they'll do is they'll go and carbo load. They'll go to your Olive Garden and have the big spaghetti fest, and they'll start tearing up all that spaghetti. What I do, my carbo loading is an 8-day cycle. What I do, if I'm 8 days out from a race, and this is just works great for me. What I do is, hang on one second, we're doing some adjustments here.
My arms are tired. I just don't know if the speakers are down below, so I don't know if
you're
it's going to
good.
affect it. Are you sure?
Yeah, so basically what I do is an 8-day prep.
So much better.
And in that 8-day prep, the first 8 days, okay, the first 4 days before the race, we have 8 days. The first 4 days of the 8-day cycle, I take carbohydrates all out of my diet. No carbohydrates. So I'm totally carbohydrate deficient. Then the 4 days before my actual race, I literally throw in as many carbs as I can eat. And that's how I carbo load before a race. So 8-day cycle, first 4 days, I take all the carbs out. It's nothing but pretty much protein. And then the last 4 days, what I do is all carbohydrates before the race. And I go into the race feeling great. The first couple miles, you're kind of heavy, but then you're flying. All right, what we got?
All right, I'm going to ask just a quick question. A lot of people are asking about foam rolling.
All right, Casey, tear it up.
Just foam rolling specifically, is it good, is it bad?
Yeah, and a lot of people about IT bands too. Specifically, these are the two
let's
questions.
discuss the IT band. Wasn't the IT band in the knee?
Yeah.
So you're talking about how the IT band takes a lot of load.
Yeah,
We're going through that.
and a lot of that's from being quad dominant. So foam rolling is great. Anything that you can do to increase pliability in your tissue is super effective in reducing stress on the body. I think foam rolling alone is good, but you can add other things. I mean, you can add yoga, stretching, range of motion. But if there's more specific questions on foam rolling,
I think even better than foam rolling is self-massage. If you can literally sit there and I do it, but you want to go all the way up, all the way down, you can really apply a lot of pressure to different areas while you're just sitting down. Self-massage to me is amazing in those areas that you can get to.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to reiterate, Goggins is not plant-based. For everybody saying Goggins is plant-based. He is not plant-based.
I take plant-based
protein because he can't do whey protein. So just for the record, because that's probably come up like 100 times. Okay. Anything for suggestions for individuals who are flat-footed and overpronate? Casey.
For sure.
For sure. So flat foot, you want to work your small foot exercises or intrinsics of the foot. So that's just doing towel grips, picking up marbles, but really starting to work the plantar surface of your foot and trying to build up some strength in your arch. And then if you're overpronating, you probably have a strength deficit up in your pelvis somewhere that's causing your femurs to rotate in and your tibias to rotate in, causing you to overpronate there. So look at strengthening the foot itself and then going up the chain into your pelvis and seeing if you can add some glute hamstring work.
And also on that one, Casey, can you explain plantar fasciitis? Because a lot of people get that, and a lot of things that they're starting to understand with these runner injuries, and this isn't just about running, a lot of it comes from your hips.
Yes.
So
absolutely, a lot of things come from your base of support, either your feet, your pelvis, all the way down. So look from your spine to your feet. But plantar fasciitis is, the etiology is a little different for most people. So it's tough to say this is what causes plantar fasciitis and this is how you treat it. That's why it's a difficult condition to treat and manage. But most of the time is you check in with your calves. Are you over tight in your calf, your Achilles? and or is your plantar fascia not strong? Like, can you improve some fascial strength there, so when you load that tissue, it's able to it's able to handle that force, that ground force when you push through that. And again, then it comes back up to your pelvis, that as you hit, you have the strength in the big muscles to load through the pelvis, hips, knees, foot, that sort of thing.
David, breathing technique during running.
Okay, so
Or Casey, I'm asking you.
there's one technique that I do before I even start to exercise, where you can do. There's several different breathing techniques, but one that I learned a long time ago is called the 4x4x4. And basically what that is you breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. You breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds. You do that for 4 minutes. So before I do any kind of, I go out for a run, I do a gym workout, before I even do a speaking engagement, that's how I open up everything. So those breathing techniques, but while you're running, people always say in through your nose, out through your mouth. Even Casey preaches that, and there's science behind that. What I do is I go in through my nose and my mouth. So I like to breathe very comfortably. It works for me. So it just works, whatever's your fancy. That's what I do.
All right. I think you discussed already shin splints, although everyone's asking about shin splints. Okay.
Now, is there anything, how to fix them? Did we cover that? I know it's a lot of it's pelvis and stuff like that, but
yeah.
If you have shin splints, I know I ran through them, which was not the smartest thing. I ran through them shits, but
you can do that too, right? You can manage your load and run through it, and your body will adapt over time. So there is that option of being able to go through it, but there's a fine line on that stress response turning into an actual stress fracture, or your body ability to lay down new bone from the stress. So
sorry about that. I have one exercise for you all with shin splints. What you do is while you're sitting down at work, sitting in your, I guess, if you're in your car, can you see my feet, Jennifer, at all? Just stand up for a second. So basically, we all know what shin splints are. What you want to do though is while you're sitting at work, sitting watching TV, is just sit here and do this right here. Just tap your foot. Keep your heel, base, your heel's on the base, and then you just tap your toe. And then you do it on both foot, and you do that until it starts to feel like a workout. And you'll feel it. Just sit here right now while this is going on, and just tap. This will seriously strengthen up your Just sit here. Like right now, I can already feel it. You sit here, you do 3 sets of those until you feel it. And once you feel it, kind of drive through it a little bit. So you're like, oh, I feel it. It may take you 5 minutes. It may take you 10 minutes. It may take you 3 seconds. But toe taps are amazing.
So sit back down. Cross this leg over here.
Like this?
Yeah, so then a manual therapy technique you could do right after that is then take your thumb. So David, go ahead and take your thumb, and you're going to put it right on the inside of your tibia there. And there's a muscle that's called the posterior tibialis runs there. And that's the muscle that gets really fibrosis and locked into the tib that's causing the pain. So,
which you just got that question. What do you do for posterior tibialis pain? However you say it, but you just got that question. So
you're gonna scroll down or you're just gonna feel down your medial shin, and you'll feel for tender spots, and there'll be a few really, really tender spots.
And you can feel it real quick, real easy. Yep. It's easy to find.
So from there, you can just strip through that muscle right along the inside of your bone. And then when you come to that tender spot, take a contact with your thumb, just grip down on it, and then you can move your foot up and down, and it'll pull that muscle underneath your thumb and essentially lengthening that. So that's a manual therapy kind of treatment for that muscle.
All right. Let me see here. There was a question here. David, I'm sure both of you have thoughts on this, but can you speak on the avoidance of adrenal fatigue and how you avoid getting burnt out?
Dude, I don't know, like once again, that's why, you know, you have my side of the story and you have his. You have to go back to that risk-reward type of thing. I purposely, as stupid as it may sound, but I purposely pushed myself to these limits. I knew that I was going to have probably fake knees one day. I knew that I was going to be maybe having some injuries and some, you know, overtraining issues. So that being said, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend like pushing past, you know, adrenal fatigue is very serious. I've experienced it a couple of times, and to come out of it, it takes years. It takes months, sometimes years to come out of it. So you don't want to ever get into that adrenal issue, because once you get into that adrenal issue, your body, once again, it doesn't recover like it should, and you've really done serious damage to yourself. So yeah, so you can talk about more, Casey, but I'm not, you shouldn't fuck with that at all.
Yeah, and the other thing is get it tested. I mean, that's what's great about our personalized medicine these days, is you can quantify all of these measures. So if you're concerned about adrenal fatigue, or you have these fatigue options or issues that you don't understand, go get it tested. And then you start supporting your stress levels, you know, whether it be through, you know, mindfulness techniques or yoga, or just learning how to be more parasympathetic, or taking different adaptogens like ashwagandha.
I was getting ready to mention that.
Yeah.
Ashwagandha is the it's amazing.
So,
All right, only because I'm sensitive, we have 7 minutes before we're going to get cut off. Tendinitis in the Achilles.
tendinitis in the Achilles.
Yeah.
So basically any tendinitis is an overuse injury, right? And after the inflammatory stage, it's more of a degenerative issue. So the Achilles, you need to lengthen the tissue, the calf, the Achilles, the heel. The Achilles goes into the heel. So a lot of calf stretching. The foam rolling could help here, because you do need to increase some. You need manual therapy on the tendon itself. Dry needling's super effective. Shockwave therapy is effective, and then just controlled loading. So once you get through that inflammatory stage, then you actually need to load the tendon through exercise and get it strong enough to handle the demands you're putting on it.
I'm going to just address this because there's been so many questions. People are all asking about the test name for the inflammations and whatnot. So I'm just going to say, go to your website or go to your Instagram. Can you post something about that on Dr. Cordial?
Yeah, nice. I mean, we're getting so many questions on the tendinitis, the exercise stuff. So on my Instagram, I'll start putting out videos on how, on exercises, stretches, routines to kind of fix this stuff, so you guys have more an idea of the movements behind them. And then as far as the testing goes, we offer the testing, specifically the nutrient testing, the food sensitivity testing. There's a whole bunch of options on the internet for that kind of stuff. So do your research on those, but I'm happy to help if anyone wants to.
One thing I'll say too, that's just to tag on him, one thing that's helped me out a lot too is I've taken all these tests, and I literally probably take 30 vitamins a day. Literally 30 vitamins a day, because I was deficient in every damn vitamin known to man, so I was just taking them. So now, when I met Casey, he has given me all these damn tests, so I know exactly what I'm deficient in and what I can't take and what gives me inflammation, all this. So I have a vitamin that I went from 30 pills to just 4 pills a day, and it's a vitamin that's specifically for me. And he also has a custom designer, that does all that stuff. So
yeah, so that's a really cool thing, is we figure out where your imbalances are, and we'll custom formulate a supplement for you. So then it just takes out all the guesswork from, I'm taking this multivitamin, am I getting what I need from it or not? So we make sure you get what you need built into the supplement.
David, do you want to say anything to Lex Friedman?
Lex! Hey Lex, I got my today, son. I got my in, so what I'm doing right now, I didn't want to tell anybody this, but Lex is out here right now. What he's doing is he's grinding every day. He's doing like a 6-mile run. He's doing like 500 push-ups, 170 plus pull-ups. He's doing squats, all this stuff. So me and Lex talk every now and then. He's like the nerdy MIT guy, and I'm like, so we're like polar opposites, but what's funny is we're not so opposite at all. Look him up. But basically, I'm taking what he's doing and I'm doubling it up. Yeah. So I'm putting in that work also, Lex. So hey, great to have you on, brother.
All right, one of the last questions. What do you recommend for warming up? I'm going to ask this of Casey. Just like general warm up. They didn't say if it's for running or whatever, so maybe there's a couple general things you can say.
Yeah, warming up, I like to move the joints, range of motion through the joints before any kind of like stretching. I like to just get control over your motion through your hips, through your, through the knees, ankles, shoulders. So start with range of motion, then active stretching if you're going to go, if you're going for a run or if you're going to do a sport. More of an active, dynamic type movement. And the warm-up doesn't have to be much, but it should be some sort of range of motion through the joints and then an activation.
So oops, sorry.
I had a question because I keep missing. I know James Blake, a friend of mine, had a question for a friend that I wanted to ask you. So he has a friend that made a bet for I think a big bet on weight loss. So I think people will find this interesting. It's percentage, fat percentage. So he's 34% fat, needs to get down to 12% fat in 6 months. What would you do? And then I'll explain what I would do.
And you have 2 minutes before we get cut off.
Oh, we get cut off. So basically what I would do is I would go on a super high protein diet, which is going to absolutely f him up because basically if his body doesn't function well under high protein, and now he's got to lose, because he has to gain muscle, lose fat, trim down. So you have to do some cardio in there. So his basic, I would do high protein diet, and I would literally throw in 3 to 4 days. I would spike the body of 30-minute stair climber, 45-minute run. Go literally throughout the day so your body's constantly getting spiked with different workouts. Yeah. Don't go too long in the workout. No more than 30, 45 minutes, 45-minute swim, go on a bike. We need to do 4 workouts a day. And if it's 3 cardios, you need to throw in also something for mass building. Yeah. So that's what I would do.
Awesome, yeah. I agree with that activity. I would identify the inflammation first, cut that out because you're not going to lose fat unless you eliminate that chronic inflammatory stress on your body, and also get a handle on your glycemic control. So what he was suggesting is more protein. We don't want to yo-yo your blood sugars up and down. So it's getting really controlled with your timing of meals and what types of foods you're putting in. So your body's not converting that extra insulin into fat stores. So you're able to start leaning out.
Everyone's saying, just start the video back up. Meaning if I get cut off, just start the video
just start
back
the video
up.
back up, huh?
So,
yeah, we want more Hey, just so you know, these tests are here for you if you want to take, like, I hate people who get on and try to sell. This is all information that's helped me out. Once again, this is all for you guys and gals.
You don't have any deals with
I don't have any sponsorship deals. I have nothing. So this is strictly for you, these assholes that come on here and try to jack your money. I'll give you some right here.
What I will say is I think you may be the only person who, maybe Casey can say, when David's knees look like they did and he's talking about getting ready for a race. That most people would never be contemplating. So.
But I was contemplating that when my knee was this big.
Yeah.
So whenever you're injured, whenever you're jacked up, make sure that you don't let it defeat you. If your knee's this big, your hips are, always have that cynical, sadistic in the back of your head that you have planned to come back and shock the world.
And with that, I mean, because he asked me, should I even consider this? And I said no, right? I mean, based on where he's at, it doesn't make sense with the time frame he has to train. So with that said, his recovery has been unbelievable. So
I'm going to bring in Allie Long just because I just got go live.
Right, she's in now.
What's up, Goggins?
What's up, girl? How you doing?
Good, I'm really good. Mid-tournament and just trying to recover. Got a little calf injury, so I want to come in and just ask some questions.
yeah, what happened?
So we're in tournament mode, and I think I played 4 games in like 12 days or something. And we switched surfaces, so I was just in the game, and my calf started tightening up. And at first, I was like, "What would Goggins do?" And he would ignore it. And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna play." And then I receive a pass, and I go to play it, and I just like felt it spasm. And then I went down. I was like, I'm not going to be Goggins right now. I'm just going to like be smart because I have a quarterfinal game coming up. And I just came off, and I just had like a little strain in my soleus. But I haven't had a muscle injury since 2013 because I like take care of my body like a psycho.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Did you get any imaging on it to diagnose it, or just a
Yeah,
feel?
right away. I was like, I'm not wasting any time. And it's like a grade 1. It's really small in like the middle of my soleus.
Yeah, so when's the next game?
It's on Saturday.
So, yeah. So that would be a
But
great
if we win, the next one's not until Wednesday. So I have like, I could try to come back for Saturday, but we need to win. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
kind of wanted to ask you what you thought.
yeah, I think first line suggestions are right now. I mean, you need to rest and let it scar in. So nutrition is paramount. You know, just to have really clean nutrition, add in good antioxidants, add in some fish oil. Are you taking any fish oil?
I feel like I'm Goggins. I take like 40 pills a day. But yeah, I do have some fish oil.
To build you a custom pill.
I
But-
know. When after this tournament, I'm coming back to Montana and doing everything.
Yeah. So, but yeah, add some fatty acids for the inflammation, and just make sure your diet is really clean. And then you're gonna have to take it day by day right now, and then just slowly progress back into the exercise, get into the pool, start moving around on it. But to walk on it, fine.
What'd you say? Sorry.
Are you able to walk?
Yeah, I feel like no. I mean, there's like a little like I feel kind of like a dead leg on the lateral side, but like where it's supposedly injured on the medial side, like I don't feel anything. And I never felt like a pain. I didn't feel anything that would normally want to get me off the field. I felt like I just felt like kind of spasm. But yeah. I don't
Yeah.
feel pain, so it's kind of weird.
Make sure the nutrition's good. If there's someone there that can do some dry needling, that could be really beneficial. If you have any kind of electricity you could pump through it, would be also beneficial. And then
The new
and yeah, just take it slow and do some pool work, and then see how you progress day by day. I wouldn't make any on how you play until you feel how you feel Saturday.
Okay, cool. Goggins, what would you do?
Well, like I said,
A
yin and
little
yang,
baby small strain in the soleus.
if it's a little strain, grade 1 strain, according to Goggins, means get that duct tape out and duct tape that bitch up, son.
That's what I thought you'd say.
You gotta do this. No, wait until Saturday, maybe, man. But you know, maybe that little idea is in the back of your head. You know what's grade 1? I can do this.
Yeah, it's just a little baby strain. That's what I keep telling myself. So I haven't had a muscle strain since like 2013, literally. So I feel like I'll recover fast.
You will. You'll recover fast.
That's awesome. But yeah, I guess that thank you so much for your input. I feel like I'll take it day by day, and then I'll try to be Goggins. Saturday.
Best out there, man. You're great.
Yes,
Thank
great.
you.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.